last video of the week, I thought I'd go cheerful and go for Paddington and The Great Escape. Just two films that I really... Well, actually, Paddington is Paddington 1 and 2, then there's The Great Escape. These are just films that are really enjoyable films that I'm just recommending to go watch because they're just so charming and so wonderful. I mean, one of them, Great Escape, is a well-known film, but I think it might have been forgotten over the past 20 years, really, compared to some of the more recent films. And Paddington is just a recent film, but the thing that brings them all together is the fact that this is two just so well-crafted, so enjoyable films that you just sit back and enjoy, and just sit back on a lazy afternoon and just really enjoy them. That's the reason why I'm making a video, is just talk about these films that are so well done, that are just so perfectly crafted. So Paddington was a film I thought, this is a disaster. This is going to be like horrible, because Paddington was a character from my childhood and from many people's childhoods for generations. It's like, how do you make it? I mean, there's been like TV shows and Paddington and stuff, and it's always been, that's interesting enough, but who cares? It's not like the main. It's not a character who's been a mainstay for culture for a while. It's just been this minor character for a bit that's charming enough, but no one cares that much anymore about it. It's like its time had come and gone, and it was a part of a kind of certain British subculture, very polite British subculture, and nobody really cared about it anymore. Until this film came along and just showed you why the character was so charming. So I thought this was going to be just dire, because you get so many films that take someone from the past and make something horrible from it because they don't understand what the character is. And this character, a very British bear, small little bear, who's very British manners, just seemed like the most obvious film to fail at. It just seemed like there's just no way you're going to succeed at this one. This is too far from the mainstream that no one's going to like it. Well, they proved it wrong. They hired Paul King to direct it, and they brought in just all the best craftsmanship, and they kept the budget to a reasonable level, so you weren't going to have lots and lots of explosions or anything. It was about character. It was about these characters, and they updated the characters to be modern, but kept Paddington as Paddington, and that became the charm of the film. So there's a certain old world charm to it. So there wasn't quite the real world, but there was enough of the real world in there that it became this balance in the film that actually just really worked. It just became something that was really worthwhile as you watch the film. It just became this thing that really delivered. So it becomes the tale of a bear who grew up in some mythical part of Africa, who travels to London because the bears had brought him up, always wanted to go there, but they gave up their dreams of going there to bring up Paddington. So now he's a chance to go to London. So he goes to London with expectations of London being from the books, because they were visited by like old professors before, and all their notes were lost in time. So they got an element of an older British culture, which Paddington brings with him because that's all he's taught. So he's very well mannered, he's very polite, and he comes to a country that has moved on, that has some manners, but just treats people like the way we treat people, just very normal and grumpy, and just the kind of a normal life, really. And Paddington comes in and just is like, that's how you treat people. And he just becomes charming and nice to people. His adventures are really about him making people around him better versions of themselves, really, ultimately. So the Brown family are who he's with for the two films. And it's basically a mother, father, son and daughter, and a housemaid. All played by British character actors. There's so many faces in these films that you'll recognise instantly, and they always have a big name villain. The first film is Nicole Kidman, the second film was Hugh Grant, and pretty much everyone agrees that Hugh Grant was the best villain, because he plays this vain actor who's just completely insane. But just the sense of what these character actors can bring that they can have a sense of the old world but also the new world that just really makes it work. In a way, I think it works a lot better than those Harry Potter movies ever did, because they try to do that and I always thought it was a bit forced. Here it's not. Here it feels much more natural. It feels much more easy to watch because you're not... Like, yeah, I always thought Harry Potter films were ill-judged and a bit clunky. And these films just aren't. They are just much better versions. And what you get in the films is lots and lots of fun escapades. As Paddington always gets stuck in a plot that is not his fault and he has to prove his innocence. And the first one is basically he is proof of the discovery of this place in Africa years ago or South America, I can't remember which one. And it'll prove Nicole Kidman, her father was right that these things existed. But her way to do it is to stuff Paddington. So there's lots of escapes and the family has to help him. He has to help his family. And it's how do they bond together, try to fight Nicole Kidman's character. And there's lots of escapades. And these films, I've watched a lot of like movies from the 60s and a lot of modern movies like Mission Impossible. Like these films reference Mission Impossible series a lot. But they also just reference a lot of like 50s, 60s movies where there's a lot more emphasis on suspense rather than action. There's just a sense of very charming... The action is charming and just a bit old-fashioned in the way that Wallace and Gromit also used to do in the stop motion. That kind of sense of humour that plays on your nostalgia but also has some really good character touches. Now the second film is a better film. The second film really works a lot better because you've got a better story. And that's when Paddington's actually framed for robbery he didn't commit. And he gets sent to jail when he has to deal with jail and deal with Brendan Gleeson as the cook who's cooking no one can stand. And Paddington makes him a better man, makes everyone in prison better people. Just by his charm. And it's just a wonderful sequence. It's just adorable. And it should not work, but it just does. Just the playing of it. And his family try to prove him innocent. And Hugh Grant is the guy who stole the thing and framed Paddington. He's just so vain and so crazy. He's an actor who thinks his talent is so great that he doesn't want to dilute it but work with other people. You know, just a total syndrome of any vain actor you've ever heard of. And again, you get all these set pieces. It's a really great train set piece in the second one. That's wonderful as they're trying to foil Grant's plans. But I mean, all the set pieces are terrific. Just the second one is better set pieces, really. And just a better story. I mean, there's prison escapes. There's, proving someone innocent. It's all about a bear. It's just wonderful. It's just a wonderful sequel. It's just a film that just works perfectly. Just like once you're into the world, it's so confident. The first one is really good, but the second one's much more confident about having these weird little jokes about the world. Because it's setting up by this point, so you can have strange jokes about Paddington's effect on the world around him and how everybody how he makes everyone feel a lot better and a lot more optimistic about the world. And when he's not there, when he goes to jail, everyone feels down until they realise they need Paddington back. And it's just very heartwarming. It's just so charming how they do it. And that's the stuff that could come across as so cringy. But just the way they do it is very open. They're very much... it's very much about having more warm-hearted feelings for your fellow people rather than just being selfish and being insular. And it just becomes a very heartwarming story. Everyone's like that apart from Hugh Grant. And even he gets affected by Paddington by the end. But it's just that sense of they're trying to get into... The family's trying to go into his house to try and find proof he's the guilty one. There's lots of just weird tales that interact with each other in really funny ways. So these are just two really fun films. It's hard to talk about because they're just so joyful. That's it. I mean, they're takes and genres that have not been around for years, and a character that has not been popular for years, and they just work. It brings back what's good about the character and just makes it wonderful. So Paddington is just great. The Great Escape is also just great. And it's the kind of film that Paddington will probably be in the future, which is the film that people watch a lot on holidays, like Christmas holidays, Easter holidays. You want to watch a film with your family, watch this one. That kind of movie. That's what The Great Escape is from an older generation. This was a film that, in Woods of Oz, I've seen so many times as a child. Even I watched it recently, Great Escape, I remembered so much from it. Because I'd seen it so many times as a kid. And it is just a joyful film. It's just so much fun. Because it is about an escape from a prison camp, which should be depressing. But it's just the charm they've got, because it's just about these guys who are not going to give up. Yeah, they've been caught by the Germans in World War II. Yes, they're behind enemy lines. Yes, they're based at prisons of war. But they're all going to try and escape, no matter how many times, even though the threat of death, they're still going to keep going. They're still going to keep at it, no matter what. And they will push forward and just try and make the Germans have to keep catching them, so it takes away from their efforts at the front. And just distract the Germans as much as possible. And that's the whole point of The Great Escape. It's just annoying the Germans. And that's just joyful to watch. It's just one of those films that, again, like Paddington, it's just a joy to watch these characters. And you've got a great cast. You've got Steve McQueen as a Cooler King, a guy who's always escaping, always getting caught, being brought back, always sent to cooler, but he can survive on his own. And then he gets a friendship with Angus Lenny's character. There's this Scottish guy who's this small guy, and he's Steve McQueen, and they just get on, and they're always in the cooler together. They're always like isolated, and they're always chatting between each other through the walls. You get Richard Attenborough as the guy who's the king of escapes. He's the guy who plans everything. You have Donald Pleasance as a guy who can forge anything. You have James Garner as a scrounger who can get anything anywhere. You know, you've got James Coburn just being James Coburn. I can't even remember what his job is. He's just been James Coburn. That's his job. It's just to be cool. He does things, but it doesn't matter. His job is really just to be cool. You've got Charles Bronson and one of his two great parts is a Tunnel King, Danny the Tunnel King. This and Once Upon a Time in the West. These two films established Charles Bronson's iconography in cinema. I mean, we just made these two films, that would have been enough. And it was never as good as this ever again, really, after Once Upon a Time in the West. But these two films just are just great. You know, and the action they've got lots of other British character actors and support as well, all. You have James Donald, who's the guy in charge who talks to the Germans, and you'll notice him from a ton of films like Quatermass, The Pit and stuff. He's in everything in Britain. It's just, the cast is perfect. Everything's perfect about it. Every little interaction's perfect. And how all the characters interact are great. I mean, you've got the British Americans, there's only a few of those, and most of the Brits, and a couple of other international guys. But they all get on because they're all just trying to escape. It's just like, yeah, but we've all got a plan. We've got different ways of doing things, but we are going to escape. That's it. That's the point. That's what we're going to do. We're going to, no matter what, we're going to escape. We're going to make life hell for these guys, no matter what we have to do it. And it's just wonderful to watch. It's just great. And it's joyful in the same way Paddington is. It's just fun watching this fantasy world. The real life of this was completely different. It's much more harsh in real life. This is just the fantasy version of World War II of them sticking it to the Germans. This is the film you imagine World War II to be. It's not what World War II actually was. This is what you imagine it to be, though. And that's why it's so great. That's why people love this one. Every other film, World War II film in the 60s, wanted to be The Great Escape. Every, Where Eagles Dare, Kelly's Heroes, they all want to be Great Escape. Every fantasy war movie wants to be a Great Escape. The reason for that is it's perfect. It's one of those films that's just perfect. Even its flaws make it perfect. I mean, yeah, it's long, but it doesn't feel that long. Even in the start, where they go into the camp, you see them checking out the camp and working out escape routes straight away. And that just gets you in with them straight away, because as soon as they get there, within the first minute, Charles Bronson and James Coburn try and walk out the front door. They're looking for scams almost instantly. And that's what makes you like these characters. They're all trying to escape. And they're all at the worst for the Germans' point of view. They say these are all the rotten eggs put into one basket, and this is the super camp that's going to keep them down. And they're like, no, you're not. That's what's so perfect about it, just this attitude of, no, you're not. We're going to escape. And then you actually watch them, all the struggles of trying to escape, and then once they get out is how to get away from Germany, and how you watch them slowly be hunted down. Like, I think Dave McCallum getting killed in this film always sticks with you if you're a kid, because it's like, he looks the one who could sneak through, and then he just gets shot down. It's like, then when Richard Attenborough gets killed at the end, it's like, there's lots of stuff like that. It's like, even when you see it now, you're like, I know they're going to die, but still, my God. I mean, because so many people get caught. I mean, there's only 3 of them ever even escape. So, I mean, it's like, there's not that many. I mean, James Garner and Donald Pleasence almost get to the border before they get caught. It's like, so you're really behind them all the way. Steve McQueen, you never quite understand what his plan is, because he seems to be almost really dying to get caught. He just seems to be like spiting them for the sake of it. But he's got a great motorbike chase. There's just lots of really cool stuff. As everyone is themselves as they try and escape. James Coburn is one of the ones that escape, and he escapes just by accident. He has no plan, but he flukes his way into an escape by running into the resistance. And Charles Bronson gets an escape because he has a plan. He knows what he's doing. And it's just like how each one has a plan, and some of them work and most of them don't, but it's like the weird variations of who escapes and who survives and who gets shot. And it's just wonderful. It's just a wonderful film. And you're so behind the characters throughout it. It's just great fun. And that's the reason why I try to talk about how great fun these films are. The Paddington films and these films. These are just enjoyable films. Since I've been talking about more, like depressing films like Driller Killer or, Aguirre Wrath of God, it's good to talk about films that are actually really enjoyable in this. That are genuine entertainments, Because a lot of films that try to make entertainments aren't, because they're cynical and you just sense the cynicism. Commercial films all want to make money, but you can try and make money in the right way or the wrong way, and this one does it the right way. This one does just a wonderful film. It's just so enjoyable. It's just, everything works in this film. It's just perfect. And it's just beautiful. It's just one of those beautiful, perfect films that don't come along very often. It just works so well. So I hope you enjoyed this video of these 2 or 3 wonderful films, entertaining films. I probably didn't go into much depth about it. It was just my experience of watching why they were so good. So I hope you enjoyed that. I'll be back next week with more videos, and hopefully I will be back. Hopefully by the time this one comes up, I will have had the podcast go up. Fingers crossed. Right, see you later.